Good morning, our viewers. You are welcome to this channel. Please don't forget to like this video, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel if you are watching for the first time. And don't forget to press the notification button so that you'll be able to enjoy our video whenever we upload. Mr. Chinedu Michael, May 30th represent a lot of things to different people. Today's some people's birthday. Today, some people have. What does May 30th represent in the Southeast?
It's not only about the Biafran war. It's also about freedom. It's about identity. It's about who the Easterners are. I listened to some people, and about 30th May are saying that it will not happen. Then I said, if it is not going to happen, then there will be nothing like, October 1st. And that's the take. The people has resolved, because it is an unnecessary war. And up to now, we are expecting that go on and should be brought to book. Because the Igbos are not terrorists, they are not warmongers. The Igbo people has dominated the entire north. Let me just put it that way. I seen as Republicans, they move around. They that's how they have been made. I've been issued. The northern region became a bit commercialized as a result of the Igbo presence back then in the 18th, 17th century. If you can go back to history, so and that was where the likes of Azik, Zungeru was the former capital of Nigeria. A lot of people also know before it moved to Lokoja. From Lokoja it came to Lagos. So in that Zungeru, there was a lot of Igbos, and the fear that Igbos dominated the ministry, it was purely by merit, because of the Igbos, get to do their things. But that is not enough reason.
They are adventurous.
That is not enough reason why the colonial masters will single out the Igbo people, for brutality or trying to transfer a certain aggression or trying to instigate oppression using the powered forces of the North. So that is why over 6 million people, 3.5 million children were starved to death. And the reason of that starvation during the war, it was as a result of it was well advised. The British system said they cannot defeat these people anymore after 3 years of war. We need to act on something, and that was how the issue of blockade came in, and that was where the ceasefire led by Philip Effiong took place. But Nigerian media will not take it. Researchers will not speak from that direction because they don't want the truth to be unveiled. But I was surprised. The IBB came out and said it was not an Igbo coup. If that was the real reason that that war came. That war did not come as a result of 1966 because coup. You understand? Because the 1966 coup, if you look at the plan and the policy and the blueprint of that war, it was a welfareism agenda that has already targeted Awolowo, as the prime minister at that time, because they felt that it was a trend in that era. Most countries were involved in coup during that period, but unfortunately, Gowon manipulated the process, and of course that was even at that. The Igbos started dying in 1953 till 76. You can see. I'm talking before the war. Of what they have started killing the Igbo people from 1953 in the north, not in the south. So Igbos have started dying in mass. Till they get to a point that over 5,000 Igbos are being killed on daily basis. When I talk about 5,000 Igbos, I'm talking about the kangaroo. I'm not talking about the funny south thing. And when they say the entire eastern region, as at that time, before they came up with this Fulani tendered ideology of south, but we are being killed. Then so and they said, let us go to Aburi, a village in Ghana, and resolve this thing. And they went there. and it was resolved. And that's why a lot of people are saying it was an unnecessary war. But
Very, very unnecessary.
there was no need. Pure military affair. Okay, a lot of people has taken bullets for that. Okay, let us go and resolve. And we went to a neutral ground. And everything was looked into, and certain agreement was signed. And coming back, Gowon said he is no longer interested in that agreement, and he ordered, police action against the Igbo people. That was where the war started. And in 1967, May 30, the war became significant 6 days after. So the war properly started on 6th June. I want to say, so there was still
after declaration of Biafra on May 30th.
6 days after or 7 days after, the war now started, which means Colonel Odumegwu, the Asaden was still open for peace. He did on everything necessary, but it became a reality. And the people have to stand against oppression and extermination. Yes, it was difficult as at that time because almost all the whole world fought against the Biafrans. But they stood, manufactured, did all manner of things under necessity. There's nothing they did not manufacture. They built an airport inside the forest. They were able to turn, manunko. What is it called? What is it called? This red oil,
palm kernel.
Yes, into a fuel. They did a lot of things to survive. But Nigeria killed that ingenuity today, and they are still asking questions. Where is the identity of Nigeria? The Biafra had an identity. Biafra happens to be. The meaning of Biafra is, coming together. That's the meaning of Biafra. Biafra means come together. Bia and Fra. You understand? Pure a word. I don't want to say much about that. Coming together, and happens to be the first kingdom on earth. It was not the Igbo people that named Biafra. Biafra came, as a result of, our connection with our Jewish ancestry and history. That was all. So they believed that the first kingdom, which was named after Seth, or the kingdom of Seth, was called Biafra. And when that kingdom came to nothing, the remnants of that kingdom was found in a place they called the Ethiopian miners. They share boundary with Equatorial Guinea. They are still there to today. That was where the Portuguese saw it, and they said, okay, this is the bite of Biafra. Before Nigeria, before the British missionary came. So the name Biafra is connected to the identity of who we are. We are not the people that said that we are Jewish people. It was the Portuguese that came and discovered that our culture and tradition, is significant with the ancient Hebrews of Israel. That was it, But yes, our commercialization nature, was being seen as a dominant threat to both the Northerners at that time, and the British, fingered it out correctly and instigated that war. Let me say it very clearly, anybody asking for today not to be remembered, called Biafra Day not to be remembered, does not mean well, for the Igbo people. We must mourn them whichever way, voluntarily or otherwise. 85 million Igbos all over the world can decide to sit at home, can stay anywhere, because once we march the street, they open the bullets, and we are not interested. We are still dying. The Fulanis are killing people. It's the same people, and they're saying it is their target. And the what they pretend. So it becomes a fact that we have to start importing a defense system. We have to start importing our identity. We have to start reporting of who we are, and we have to start showing resilience to stop the ongoing genocide and extermination politically. So that was the reason why, having gone this far, it became prominent in 1999. We started from Masop. from Masop, Wazirike, and started the mass mobilization for Biafra. Mass mobilization for Biafra. That was what the king was. But under Obasanjo came into power, and the three major ethnic lords emerged from Nigeria at that time. We have the Arewa and we have the OPC at that time. Then we have the Masop. So the three major ethnic lords, surface to still question the unity of Nigeria. Go and listen to Ghanaian Adams today and find out whether what I'm saying here is different from the opinion of that great man called Ghanaian Adams, the Are and the Okafor of Yoruba land. I respect him a lot because I've watched him several and see the sincerity of purpose in the reality of the entity called Nigeria that has already enjoyed a clause. And Jonathan tried to give it back to Nigerians from the British system, and he was removed from power. So that is the fact. So we must sit at home, mourn our heroes, those who said never again.
But people are criticizing the mode operandi of your mourning. That's why still locking people inside. When some students are still writing WAEC, when some people may be sick on that day, that locking people inside is not the best. What do you think? Is there any other way to mourn your fallen hero than locking them inside? That's the best.
Yes. Let me say it very clearly. This is just about sacrifice. I've tried to talk about the war. The war has to go with absence of leadership. In the absence of leadership, there's anarchy. One could not provide that leadership, and over 6 million Igbos died. So, but the facts still remain. What I'm talking about, that they come to a point that sit at home on May Day or 30th. Like, I'm not talking about sit at home that has to do with solidarity for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I'm talking about 30th May. It is purely an Igbo thing, an Eastern thing, a Biafran thing. But voluntarily, the people in their wisdom does not stop any activity that has to threaten human life, threaten partaking in whatever process of livelihood. That is just there's no restriction. That one is voluntary. If but the 70% of people who want to say, okay, this is the day, sit at home. In solidarity, then get the world attention and get the federal government attention, get the leaders' attention. Why is these people sitting at home? It was one of the non-violent approach, to attract solidarity from the international community. This Mahatma Gandhi of India used it successfully, and India was liberated, without any gun. Because the United Nations is against any form of agitation that has to do with gun. And IPOB has, for some time now, for a very long time, Ibination, have always preached non-violent approach to Biafran restoration. So we don't want to take it back that there might be government propaganda at the end of the day, and we're just seeing another revelation now from the governor of Imo State, and saying that it is not state actors that are killing people in the east and not IPOB. And so this information for long. You never said it. Why is it that now you're about to leave office, you're now opening
Is he repenting?
I think to an extent, but the Igbo youth are saying we are rejecting your apology. We are rejecting your present stand and reflection on the issues of IPOB, Biafra, and of course the Eastern mandate. But they keep on coming up with revelations that his people, the people who are killing this thing, the government has sponsored the propaganda, and trying to tag IPOB, that terrorist organization which has been fought and crushed by the way IPOB, a more powerful Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has led. You cannot see IPOB carrying gun to invade any part of the country.
Let's talk about the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It's very, very close. May 30th today, and a very few day. Now we are going to have at least maybe final judgment on Nnamdi Kanu. What is your expression in that case?
It is becoming very significant, and let me use this opportunity to celebrate Jim, the first Biafra head of state, the man that led the Jewish black nation for 4 years as a nation before Philippe Fiong and the rest of them signed that ceasefire. Biafra is still at war because it was a ceasefire You know, there was no surrender. Anybody, there's no, nothing like surrender. Go and look at the document very well. Go and look at what the Philippine children are talking about. Nigeria is carrying out a propaganda on the final day of the Nigeria-Biafran war, where they had a ceasefire. Biafra have never surrendered to Nigeria. You know, so
what do you think it was written in that memo?
It was an agreement that will allow for rehabilitation, construction, you know, and reintegration. But you understand now?
I understand.
Nigeria has never fulfilled that part. Instead, it was the Igbo people, the Biafran themselves, that are everywhere in Nigeria trying to perform, take the part of that agreement socially, economically, and politically. They are everywhere in Nigeria more than any other tribe.
Before we round up, okay.
I'm just trying to talk about, you know, Mazin Nnamdi Kanu court and all that. And I want to say, you know, from what we are seeing about Judge James, the presiding judge, James Omotosho, you know, I think to an extent he was able to give justice to justice. He gave justice. He gave justice to justice. He gave justice to justice. You know, and we'll say we will not be overzealous currently now, because we don't yet trust Nigeria. But so far so good. You know, Nnamdi Kanu was vindicated that, you know, there was no gun, there was nothing found in him, and the judge said, "Federal government, bring your witness, bring whatever you want," and they tender it. And he said he went through it one after another and discovered that Mazin Nnamdi Kanu was not allowed to have access to his lawyer. And today, of course, he knows, everybody knows all over the world, you know, Biafran War was one of the worst genocidal war in the history of the world.
So what do you think is going to come out? If then they cannot, I don't think they need to just release Nnamdi Kanu like that. It's either federal government has to pay some money for, violating his human right, or they find him culpable in a particular place and they ask him to pay fine. Well, what do you think?
Yes, I think it's going to be another phase at the end of the day, you know, when Mazin Nnamdi Kanu is finally released, you know, because what they are going into now, you know, I think they are going to open up defense, you know. I think they are done with the AAA, and this one is having CCC, whether BBB, whatever they are going to codename it, you know, the defense will be open, and there will be argument and counter argument, and then finally Jason Mostosho will take a decision on that. And from what we are saying, you know, there's nothing to, you know, hold him there, and the man is physically angry. You know, that there's no need of keeping Mazin Nnamdi Kanu here. Why you, after some time now, you go on recess and enjoy with your family, and you continue to celebrate illegality.
Briefly, before we go, let's talk about the impact of that civil war. I know, were you born that time? No, you were not born, but at least history. Do you know, how can you describe the impact of the civil war to the people from the southeast?
It was a devastating one, and the Nigeria never gave the Igbo people who were picking nylon on the street, you know, who were doing door, you know. They used to carry this thing here on the shoulder. The Abreba people, as at that time, you know, the Oguku people, they call them Oguku, the farmers, and they need to move from one place to another. That stuff they were doing was exposing them to the harshness and the ashes that has to do with the war. You know, you know what they call starvation? You know, blockade, total blockade. You know, for that period of that war. So, and the war ended, there was no support from anywhere, and the people started picking nylon on the streets.
And their property that have been seized, majority of them have been seized, and there was a compensation of £20.
No, compensation of £20. Those who are big boys at that time, that have several millions of naira, you know, they said the government took about 80% of the money and gave them £20. That £20 is just for a limited few who are billionaires, who are rich, you know, who have money.
It's not for everybody.
So how many people have money as at that time?
Some of them
you know,
know
most of them has tried to survive the war, and their family, most of them had lost interest in anything. So, but the fact is that, why this generation refused to give up is that the oppression has continued, and people are asking questions. Who are you? And we discovered that we are Biafrans. And what made you a Biafran? Because our genealogy and our identity, where we come from, our source, our culture and tradition told us where we come from, and that is who we are. So you can see people came from that scratch, property seized. Even some people were denying their identity. They are not able, so that they're able to have something from the federal government. That's what happened to Sarawiwa. Go ask Sarawiwa. He's still living in Odimo Gojuku's papa's house until death came. Go hang him. He was living in Ojuku's papa's house in River State.
It was killed by Abacha.
Michael Okpara that developed River State. All this region covered up. So forget, yes, I saw one outside guy saying that, it's unfortunate the Niger Delta doesn't know what they are doing. That these people that was created by the Fulani, they are just like we keep on saying. But I think it will come to a point one day that issue will be properly addressed. So millions of people we are lost, some families we are lost, but look at today, with God's grace, the Igbos are trying to move from one point to another, and that is what it is.
Thank you very much.